Richmond Board of Education will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Christine, if you could please read our mission and vision statement and take roll.
Our mission statement is, at Richmond Community Schools, we provide quality education that empowers students to be successful in the global community. And our vision statement is to foster a culture of academic excellence, creativity, character, and ensuring that all students are prepared for success in an ever-changing world. And we'll start roll call. Board Member Cunningham.
Here.
Board Member Michon.
Here.
Board Member Sutton.
Here.
Board Member Telto.
Here.
Board Member Gillis.
Here.
Board Member Spire.
Present.
I am Board Member Fortuna. I am present. We have a quorum, and we also have both of our student representatives, Kelsey McNamara and Elizabeth Schaefer.
Thanks very much. Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda. So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, as we had discussed last week, we'll be doing roll call votes on everything. So Margaret? Aye. Sandy?
Aye.
Candace?
Aye.
Raymond?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda. So moved. Do I have support?
Support.
Thank you. Ms. Walton?
Okay, there were no questions regarding the board minutes of the October 13th or the district head count full-time equivalent FT count report. In the personnel report, we have a couple new hires and some resignations. Amy Barrett was a former teacher. We hired as a daily sub, like any other supplementary staff, though being retired public employee, she has to be hired by the district. Much like we did with the previous one, we hired last. We have a new hire, Laura Antigua, Spanish club at the elementary school. We have a couple resignations. Heidi Adler, volleyball coach, 7th grade, Heidi Cheryl, district newsletter, Rhonda LeRoy, science Olympiad, Rhonda LeRoy, science Olympiad at middle school, and Amanda Walden is child care aide. We had no retirements or termination at this point.
You would have any questions for Mr. Walton? Okay, we'll be doing a roll call vote. Margaret? Aye. Sandy?
Aye.
Candace? Aye. Sarah? Aye. Raymond?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. Okay, next item on our agenda is our blue double grades. Let's see here, let's start with Margaret. Oh, nothing. Okay. Danielle?
Yeah, so, well, 2 days ago or not, so now,
No.
I had,
Yes, no?
we had Jackson's IEP and I had some follow-up questions and our newer special ed director, Ms. Clausen, touched base with me. I was just really impressed with the turnaround time and the amount of time and just her answering my questions and clarifying and taking time to sit down and chat for a little bit and making those arrangements. So I just want to say thanks for that.
Okay, Sarah? Raymond?
At this time.
Candace?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you to Cynthia for all her hard work planning the annual getaway for the conference that Deb and I went to. It was a lot of behind the scenes work to get all that pre-approved for us to go and have smooth check-in and registration. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
very smooth. Checking in was very good. We didn't need anything. Everything just went very smooth. So I think that, and I thank the district and our board for allowing us to attend this event. It went really well. It was really good. Okay, next item on our agenda is our student board report. So Kelsey, are you first or Elizabeth? Okay.
Last night, the class of 2026 is November 19th. Registration information was mailed home today. All parents and students are encouraged to attend no matter what their post-secondary grades are. Last week, we had multiple trips out in industry. Miss Wolak's life skills class went to the firehouse. Teacher guys went to Saginaw Valley State University for the LIMT, LIFT, Educators Conference, and CTE computer programming students went to the Michigan Cybersecurity Summit. Congratulations to Mr. Learton, who held his first choir concert this past week. If you didn't get the chance to attend, check out the recording on the Richmond TV YouTube channel. The fall CTE Advisory Board meeting will take place on November 12th at Richmond High School. We are still looking for participants, so if you are interested in attending, please contact Ms. Saban. For middle school, we just finished our fall sports with successful volleyball and football seasons. We're looking forward to basketball and wrestling, which begins soon. Our group bash was a monumental success. The students had an excellent time. Thank you to our RMS PTO who put on such an amazing event. Staff and students will finish up the first quarter on this Friday, ending with a half day of school. Happy Halloween to you.
At the elementary school, the preschoolers had an exciting visit from the local fire department today. Firefighters talked with them on fire safety and what to do in case of an emergency. Students learned important safety tips. They saw the firefighters' special gear up close, even after we explored the fire truck. Lily School would like to thank our local heroes for teaching our students how to stay safe and calm during emergencies. Lee Elementary is looking forward to the trunk or treat on Thursday. There are over 30 trunks signed up, which reflects the partnership between the elementary school community and parent partnership. Please feel free to come and join for this event. For athletics, the varsity and JV football teams wrapped up their respective regular seasons with wins over Lancers North. The varsity team will host Armada on Friday at 7 o'clock in the first round of MHSA playoffs. The theme is Halloween costumes. Tickets must be purchased through GoFan. Congratulations to the JV volleyball team for playing the BUF championship this weekend at UWM. Congratulations to Mason Peterkowski on qualifying for the MHSAA cross-country state finals. Mason finished fourth in his race after passing multiple competitors in the final stretch.
Anyone have any questions for our students? Okay. Next item on our agenda is our superintendent legislative update. Mr. Rose.
I'm going to start with the legislative update. The School Aid Appropriations Subcommittee held some hearings on October 21st. The primary focus of this was to help understand how the legislative decisions are creating sometimes barriers for school districts to access funds. Given the size of the districts, some districts are smaller than others, have less personnel to put all the reporting requirements of the grant. So they're looking to streamline it, especially that all those sections or categoricals that are competitive grants. The House Education Committee is looking at a series of bills they've been taking testimony on. One is House Bill 4922, which would eliminate the requirement for a school librarian to be certified. The requirement would be if you wanted to have a certified person, they would just need to have a teaching certification, not a librarian certification. Not many people are going into library science anymore because of the job market of that. But there are several districts that do offer certified librarians because it's often that's part of a specials or certification. House Bill 4665 would allow absences due to attending agricultural competitions, expeditions like FFA or 4-H to be excused. That's being discussed. House Bill 5044 would allow private healthcare personnel to be able to provide medical necessary treatment. This stemmed from a specialized special education program or center-based program. And so that's, again, we're looking at the pros and cons of that one. And finally, their House Bill 5049 to 5045 is talking about epinephrine delivery rather than just the auto injector. There's other ways to do it. And the series of bills changes not only the Michigan School Code, Public Health Code, Law Enforcement, Firefighters Association, access to these resources. The House passed another cut to the sales tax revenue for the schools on October 22nd. Again, it has to go through the process, but the House Bill 4375 and 4376 would exempt the trade-in of personal electronic devices from sales tax. Turning your cell phone, you upgrade it, and so forth. There's a tax you're paying on that. Part of that tax goes to the school aid fund. This bill would eliminate that, again, reducing more revenue to the school aid. It's estimated that this is about $9 million. The only challenge is Michigan's definition of portable device is so broad, it can encompass a lot, which could be a lot higher than that. So we're just watching that. Any effects of the school aid revenue is something we always are watching. If you recall, back in December of last year, I got to get my dates here, that's 23-24, the Democratic-controlled House passed several bills in lame duck. Then in January, when the House switched to the Republican control, the House Speaker refused to send the bills on to the governor's office. One of those bills was to have government entities like school districts assume more cost of the insurance of an employee. 80-20, some of those numbers, hard cap raises, etc. Then the Speaker House, Matt Johnson, refused to send those 9 bills to the governor, so they never got either a signature to approve them or to avoid. Today, the Court of Appeals said those bills have to go with the violation of the Constitution. And so what next? I don't know if they're going to appeal it again to the next level or if they're going to send them on to the governor and we'll see what she does. Because if she signs some of those bills, there's a huge impact on budgets that we're planning. So again, it was ruled unconstitutional. Those bills through the process have to go on to the governor for her or his signature or veto. I'm going to come back to Section 31AA as legislative update. So from a district, last Friday, the 7th, 2 Fridays ago, we had the district mini concerts, the K-5. Mrs. Smith and the students did a remarkable job. Several people from the board office as well as some staff got to attend. I didn't get to all of them, but I got to a good chunk of them. The energy level and the excitement of the kids is pretty cool. I made a comment at the high school fall conference or concert to Mrs. Clore and Mrs. Shack that if this keeps up, your numbers are growing because the enthusiasm of the program was definitely there. So kudos to the music teacher, Mr. Lieberton. It's a pretty diverse selection. They were singing in multiple languages, challenging musical pieces. It's really raising the bar, so congratulations. Again, I just want to all comments here. Middle school Blue Bash was last Friday, to echo what was already shared. I want to thank the PTO for making this a free event for students. So they had a lot of kids attending, so it was well turned out, well received by the students and parents. Tomorrow is the winter sports parent meeting. Just a reminder for parents who are planning on playing winter sports or students who are playing winter sports. It's 6 o'clock in the auditorium with Mr. Trent. You heard this Thursday is trunk or treat. Rain or shine, we'll go. We'll adjust if it's really heavy rain. Friday is a half day of school. It's considered the end of the first marking period, so it's breakfast day in the afternoon for staff. Just to remind everybody, there's no preschool programs on Friday or ECSE, but everybody else is a half day. Report ready to go out next week. Good luck to the varsity football team and their coaching staff who will host Armada in the semifinals football game this Friday at Richmond at 7 o'clock. Good luck to them. Next Tuesday, November 4th, is a professional development for teachers and some of our support staff. So there's no student in school for students. On that day, we're doing something a little different with our food service program. We're doing a dazzling dish competition. Each of the 3 schools is preparing a dish that ultimately could end up on the menu. We're looking at a variety of things such as flavor, presentation appeal, cost effectiveness, and is it viable to be able to put on the menu. It's a Mexican theme, so if there's any board members who have not yet responded or are able to, it's at 12:30 next Tuesday. Let me know, we'll get you on the tasting team. We've got a rubric for you to fill out and follow. We have a trophy for the winning team displayed proudly in their kitchens. We're going to meet in the board office because it's going to be in the middle school cafeteria. Election day is next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, November 4th, so please get out and vote. The district is asking for no increase in the debt millage rate proposal. This would fund additions on all three of our buildings, as you've heard numerous times at the board meeting and multiple presentations, to address our current and future needs. Mark on your calendar, because it will be here very soon, Friday, November 21st, 22nd, and Sunday, November 23rd. Is the Richmond High School Theater Program's performance of Dracula. Cool. Working very hard on that. And finally, I'm going to go back to the legislative update. 31A funding. So I sent it to the board. And I don't know if you were able to get it. Look at your email, Ray, regarding the 31A. I sent you an e-blast that Troon puts out to its clients and 2 resolutions. I just want to kind of give you a snapshot because this has never been done in my tenure as a superintendent. We oftentimes have to agree to certain ways the funds will be used, which generally is not an issue. So if the literacy fund, it might have to be focused on K-3. If it's a school safety fund, it's focusing on if you can buy X, Y, and Z, or you can do staffing. This is going to the next level because not only is it defining what can the funds be used for, just here to remind everybody, 31A is a combination of 2 grants that used to exist. There was a school safety grant and there was a mental health grant. And so when they've combined them into what's called 31A, and it's for school safety and mental health. In our district, we get about $180,000 in 31A money. We generally spend that on half of a social worker, our building security monitors. There's been some supplies in the past, like the reunification kits we put in last year for all the building. But generally, that's what we just paid for. This is now requiring us that if you want that money, you have to now opt in. And they did change the date. I do have a memo from the Michigan Department of Education that we have until November 16th, which is a Sunday, at 11:59 p.m. to submit an opt-in. Basically what this is doing is districts who opt in, they're going to divide that pot of money to those that opt in. So if there's more districts opting out, there's more money technically for those that opt in. The challenge here is that you have to agree to certain things. One of them is you're going to comply if something were to happen in a mass casualty event. You have to comply, to agree to a comprehensive investigation conducted by a governor-appointed legislature. If you recall, back in when the tragic incident happened in a neighboring school district to us in the next county, there were multiple investigations, and one was wanted to be done by the Attorney General, and it was declined by the district because there was other investigations, a lot of reasons that I don't even know a piece of. The second one is, which is probably the biggest concern that I have, is you have to waive all attorney-client and privileges related to that. And I'll go back in a minute. The definition of a mass casualty event, what you might think of the worst-case scenario, could be 3 students who get into a fight. And now it builds in and again, there's some, I'm being very simplistic, but that's what it could be. And now you're subject yourself to an investigation by the governor or governor appointed, as well as waiving any attorney-client. And oftentimes, at least I know in my tenure here, it's never about hiding things. It's about protecting what's the district's interest. We go into oftentimes closed session for student discipline. We go into closed session for attorney-client communication on various topics, where the attorney is guiding you as a board. I don't know anybody here who's an attorney by nature, so oftentimes you're relying on that. Well, that conversation is no longer protected. In hindsight, after any incident, people are always looking for fault and looking for something that went wrong. We're a human industry. As I said, when we do budget, 90% of our budget is people. People make mistakes, they're human. So that one, and then the other one is obviously for cooperate, or the third one, I should say, obviously, is cooperate with the investigative protocols. And I don't know any district who, when there's an investigation, they're part of it, they're asking for it, but they don't cooperate with it. But, so the concern that we have, that I have in this, is the definition of mass casualty. It's not just about an active shooter. It could be so much broader than that. It could be a transportation accident that involves at least 3 or more people. And there's a lot of things that other people are going to get in here that in that conversation, what next or what do we do and type is all weight. That all becomes public. So if a district does not opt in and agree to these, you don't get the money. So what's really going to be in the board's, and the reason why I'm bringing it to you tonight is I need you to think about this really for the next 2 weeks, because I gave you a copy of the resolutions that Troon has put out to us. There's no requirement that you have to pass a resolution. However, as your employee, I don't believe, and I think Troon would argue too in their paper, that I have the ability to waive your right as a board's attorney-client privilege. It's ultimately your decision as a board whether you want to. So if we accept the money, we're agreeing to those conditions. If we aren't willing to agree to conditions, then we don't accept the money. And that's about $180,000 for us this year. The other thing that's very concerning to me, as well as many district superintendents, I think it's also in Troon's letter, is there's no finite time. In other words, it is possible that if you accept this money this year, and next year in the budget, they cut 31A out of the budget, doesn't mean that you've accepted it. So you now, if something happens in the future, there's nothing that says that you waive all your rights because if you accepted that money 2, 3, 5 years ago. There's no deadline.
Even if you are no longer on the board. Because, you know.
Well, that is another risk we have, is if it's an incident that you were part of that decision, your governmental immunity, as long as you're not grossly negligent, goes away. And so there's some concerns on board member, what you guys have as making decisions. God forbid something does happen and we have to go through that. So there's a lot. I mean, this is sending.
Did everybody get a chance to read it today?
Yeah.
That's what my question, because at the time that it came in, when he got it, whether everybody had a chance to read it. Because when I called Brian this afternoon, I had some questions, and my thing was, because it said November 12th, we had to decide, and our meeting is November 10th, and so my question to Brian was, okay, so they just gave this to you, and we got to decide in 2 weeks, so everybody had a chance to look at it, what kind of conversation are we having? And so you said this is going to be informational, and then in 2 weeks you talked about maybe having our attorney.
I did. I have Jennifer Starlin penciled in.
I'm disturbed by this, so there's lots of questions that I have.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, like, our liability insurance, I'm sure, already most likely compels us to cooperate with any kind of investigation that they have. And they may even use like a third-party company to do that. Like, obviously, don't have an issue with that. But the fact that they want us to be completely unprotected is really, it's really alarming.
And to add to that also, when we attended the delegate assembly at the conference, this was a huge topic, and the whole room was very.
I imagine
it was big. Not only that, but the definition of casualty isn't necessarily death.
Correct.
It could be a mere.
That's right. It could be an injury.
Yes.
Right. It could be one person
Right.
being injured on premise.
Well, and I think that's, to me, reading that was the big thing when I talked to Brian this afternoon was mass casualty, or how they said it, when it could be a fight in the parking lot, and not to dismiss, but
3 kids get into a fight and there's broken leg or whatever, that's
Could be.
a mass casualty. And that just stopped me in my tracks. When I'm reading that, I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And where I just have a huge problem is, you want us to be safe. Mental health is an important thing. So you've got this big ton of money you want to give us, but we're going to handcuff you. And it's just.
I don't even understand the reasoning of them wanting that from us. Like, you would think that they would want us to be protected. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's a very irresponsible decision to be like, I mean, that's like literally just,
The thing is,
they have everything, they have access to everything then. And it might not have anything to do with this incident, and then you're talking about privacy issues and everything else, like, yeah, no, I don't understand why they would ask that, like, I don't.
Well, that because then if everybody backs out and doesn't do it, they've got $52 million they don't have to do anything with and give it somewhere else.
Oh, okay, that's an
So
interesting.
who cares about the safety
Sure.
and mental health in
Okay.
public schools?
Well,
That's where I'm coming from.
That was in my head too, because I
Right.
instantly thought, well, what's the motive? There's got to be a motive.
Right.
And
That's
it's
my
an-
conspiracy.
because it's an odd thing to want to disarm districts of any sort of
Correct.
legal protection
Right.
or
Yeah.
it just feels
Well,
like
I
the
don't wanna-
motive is weird.
I don't want to speak for any legislator, because obviously I was not in the room when this was discussed. But just from an outsider looking in, we all know from the Oxford case and what the public was, we have the Attorney General who wanted to do an investigation. There were multiple investigations going on.
I mean, there
And the
should
school-
have been multiple
Correct.
investigations.
Correct, and the
Yeah.
school district, and again, I don't know if it was the board and all those details, but at some point said, no, thank you, we've got these other groups investigating. I think that's a piece of it, because with anything, there's always politics in it and so forth, but I think that's a piece of why this is here.
Well, I don't know, I don't know.
For me,
Go ahead.
thank you. No, for me, I read the letter. Yeah, for me, that just seems like a broad overreach, and dangling a carrot of funding in front of us, saying, hey, we'll give you all this, but we want to control everything. And yeah, with no date being put on it, no, you know, I am definitely not in favor of that. After reading all of that, there's way too much that they're asking for what they're offering. I don't agree with it.
And I will tell you, Billy and I were at a conference call last weekend about section 31A, and then section 2, which is this, and there's section 4 and 5, which are competitive grants, which won't even be open to us to even apply to the end of February, beginning of March, for this school year, just keep that in mind. The response from the MDE was, this is our interpretation. It doesn't mean this is law, this is how we're doing it. This date, which is now November 16th, as you read the email, that's something arbitrarily put by MDE. They explained to us, they need this date in order to get these funds on our state aid payment in December. They need that time, at least that time frame to get it there.
And
So-
I'm sorry, I know you said the amount, what was it again? It was like 100.
It's 184, excuse me, last year we got 176,298, excuse me, 24-25, 176,298.
I think that we tend to could lose a whole lot more than that if we,
Brian, can we
I don't know.
opt out this year to kind of see how it impacts other districts? How many opt in, can we opt in next year?
I don't have an answer to that because this is the first time we've ever had to do this.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's an opt-in, if it's something that we're going to be doing annually. I really believe this is going to get challenged because you're giving up a fundamental right of anybody in a court system at attorney-client privilege. And if you're in a court system and you hire an attorney, you have an open conversation with the attorney that's not going to be held against you or to be used. That's part of it. Again, after we have a tragic accident, as a board, I would hope that we would want, okay, what do you, as a board, talking to your attorney, how do you address the situation yet protect the long-term viability of the district? That conversation's gone.
yeah, I mean,
That-
we
that
have,
the conversation.
we have a responsibility to protect the, I mean, that's our
Absolutely.
job, to protect
That
the
is-
district and the taxpayers and everything. Like, I just feel like that is just opening us up for a whole lot of potential, a whole lot more of a potential loss than $180,000.
Right, and the wording in that says that they can retroactively,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
put that into effect, which, so they can take it back in time, and I just, there's so many things about that that I do not like or agree with.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I can't, that I wouldn't, I would struggle getting on board with, obviously, like, you know, as far as like, the investigation part, you know, the more the merrier, as long as we don't, especially if we don't have to pay for it, like, I'm fine with that, but, you know, because I mean, we want clear, you know, correct answers, I think, if something were to happen.
Right, and again, it puts boards of education between a rock and a hard place, because the whole, the safety, the mental health, that amount of money is a lot of money for a district like Richmond. So it puts you in a rock and a hard place, that it's funding that needed. We have worked really hard for our mental health, all the stuff that we've done, but yet we have to protect the integrity of our district. No, it's just disgusting.
Yeah.
It
So-
almost feels like they're exploiting districts, you know,
Yeah,
it really feels kind of icky and I don't like it.
Absolutely.
But it also feels like a potential deterrent, you know, oh, well, you know,
Yeah.
if nobody takes us up on this because it's ridiculous, then we get to keep all this money, redistribute it somewhere else. And I would be probably on board with just not doing it this year, save the money, see how it plays out, and maybe make a decision next year.
So to give you perspective, this is a.
You aren't saving money though.
Yeah.
It's not saving money.
No,
You
not.
would lose the money.
I didn't mean saving money. I meant not doing it, saving the liability.
Oh.
And then not, yeah, and then
So what
maybe
we,
vote next year.
so what we currently have budgeted out of this money for 31A this year are the building security monitors, the police liaison officer, a half-time social worker, and care that we use for employee assistance, as well as the student 20%. Those dollars all total up to about $176,000. So if we don't opt to receive this funds, either that's coming out of the general fund,
Or it's
or we gotta reduce something. So, again, I'm not asking for any decision, I'm asking for a direction here, I want you to think about it. I do have our attorney to go into closed session, so you guys can have more, give me some feedback. Maybe in 2 weeks we'll have something more. I'm not optimistic, but at some point, I have to make a decision. Someone in the district has to say, yes, we're opting in, or no, thank you. And again, yes, you have to pick one or the other.
And it didn't say though,
Oh,
that
it's
at the
not.
resolution, we have to pay
Oh.
for the template? Didn't it say?
No,
that?
what the template is it's the resolution, that's generally a fee, the attorneys, they customize it for your district. We have them already, because I wanted it, or that's what you have in your backup that I emailed you. I just have to change just the name.
Yeah, the resolution A is to opt in, the resolution B is to opt out.
Right.
And it's just kind of a cookie cutter, like Brian was saying, you just kind of insert what's applicable to us.
And then I want to stress that
Template.
there's nothing in the law that requires us to upload a resolution or say one way or the other. The bigger question is here is the superintendent. And truly, I don't have the authority to waive your rights as a board. So as a board, you guys have to make that decision whether you want to opt in and waive it and roll the dice, and hopefully there's clarification, or, as you said, maybe opt out, and let's see if we can opt back in next year and then figure out how we're this 176.
If you opt out, does it preclude you from going after the other?
If the other ones, you have to opt in. When they release those grants, you have to agree to these conditions for the section 4 and 5.
So you get nothing.
losing.
Well, 4 and 5, one is for police liaison, which you can't supplant, so I couldn't use this since we have it. It would be in addition to, or if we have these, let's say we have 4 social workers, it would be a 5th social worker. I can't use that money to help supplant this one. And then 5 is 4 is police dogs and, which you have to have a company do, or police liaison officer. And 5 is mental health, social workers, counselors, etc. But it has to be above what you currently have.
Are there other grants out there that we could potentially, I know that it might be time and effort put in, but to maybe offset some of it that we haven't tried before?
They would probably be through we call it a third-party, non-state grant that I'm aware of. In the state budget, this is for the school aid at least. For the private schools, they're getting $31.80 this year, but it's coming out of the general fund. And so they're supposed to have the same requirements to opt in to get those funds.
Any super in the county or in the area?
This is on our agenda for the November 5th superintendent's meeting. There's a lot of, there are some districts that are dependent. I mean, I'm not saying we're not dependent on this, don't get me wrong, because we'd have to shift and look at other things, but there are districts that are not in the best shape as us, and they need, and so they're kind of in a rock and a hard place.
What's a little concerning too is like, so if we vote on this and we don't all vote the same way, somebody else is waiving my rights in a way.
But I didn't think about that
I
way.
just, yeah.
So if you were a no.
So like, let's say
and
if I'm a
three
no and
yeses,
Candace says yes, just as an
Oh,
example.
yeah, now I
And then the
get
rest,
what
like
you're
say the majority of the board is, we're opting in, but I'm saying a no to it, like I'm not waiving my rights to legal counsel, personally.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Putting that on the record.
So where I want to leave here is I want you to think about this. I'm not asking for any direction tonight. I will plan on Jennifer to be here at the next meeting. We'll close session, which we're going to find again. Hopefully some change, but I'm not optimistic there's going to be any change other than today. So if you have questions, I'd encourage you to write them down and bring to that conversation later. That's all I have.
I do have, I would, I'm sorry.
This weekend, it was a really hot topic, I can tell you. Okay, next item on our agenda is items of interest from the board. I'll start with you, Sandy, since you were.
Sorry, because I was being rude, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I just had a quick question, I'm not sure if the student reps answered or said this and I missed it, but like, is there gonna be a Halloween parade? For the, or Brian, do you know?
There is a Halloween parade. I was talking to Mr. Gibson. It's after, it's in the morning, it's a half day, so it's about, I'm gonna say about 8 o'clock, 8:30. It's around elementary school.
And it's inside the school?
It's outside.
It's outside.
And then they always have a plan B if it rains. It might
Okay.
be indoors or depending on,
Okay.
I don't want to say it's going to be canceled because I don't know that for sure, but it is planning on being outdoors that day.
The email I got today said 8:05 and it said weather permitting, so I don't think there'd be, it didn't
Okay,
sound like there was a plan B, unfortunately, I'm sure, but it's a weather permitting.
Okay.
8:05.
Part of it is we also encourage staff to have their parties that day. It's a half day. I want to get attendance. I don't want to have this be a snow day for us. So we're encouraging kids to come. It's part of the event. It's part of the
Yeah.
school experience.
Yeah.
But it is
I like the watch.
shortly after attendance on Friday.
You go, Sandy?
I like to go, yeah.
Okay, Candace, do you have anything?
Just one question regarding, so I know that we had filled a building sub position with the, this was under the personnel report. Are we, for all three buildings, now that we have a budget in place?
This isn't a building sub. This is it's a daily sub. We have to hire them because they retired from a public school. So we hired this one, and the other one we hired last one. What's her first name? Tracy. Pardon? Tammy, that's right. They were retired, so they will pick up jobs. You know, if there's an opening and nobody's picked them up to register, they're available. Both of them, to my knowledge, don't want to work every day. They want to do here and there and kind of pick their jobs, but it's not an everyday occurrence. The building subs that we're referencing, I've been watching those sheets. In fact, I just signed a set that's today. They're in Angela Park. Watching the missed preps. At this point, I don't see a need to bring it to the board to bring them back full on. However, there's been conversation among the administrative team with Billy, and again, it's a cost that we have to figure out where that's going to come from. but there hasn't been daily miss preps of teachers. I'm not saying there hasn't been any, but there's been a few, but it's not been consistent. So go back to your record, this is a daily sub that we're hiring.
Those are kids that are
They
retired.
still come in through the edu staff.
No.
No, we're paying them as a district
Okay.
employee because
We have
they can't be hired through edu staff and pay them through edu
Oh,
staff.
that's right.
That's a whole difference.
The difference is we're not paying the 20% edu staff fee, but we're also not paying the retirement fee on it because they're already collecting retirement.
And they had to wait a little bit of time.
They had a period of time, both of them have exceeded that wait period. So it's, if we have an opening and nobody's picked it up, we will literally pick up the call, hey, are you interested in subbing? The one lives right around the corner from the school, and they're both interested, but they're not interested in anything more than a couple days at most.
Yeah.
Sarah? Margaret? Danielle?
I just wanted to add to this conversation, I apologize for this emergency phone call. That thinking about this and listening to kind of what Sarah said about maybe opting in like next year, that I could see them going to the point of, well, oh, these districts didn't need it and it wasn't a thing that was needed, so they gave up they're not looking at it as us giving up our rights, they're looking at it, oh, they didn't need it, so now it's just like, maybe even next year, it won't even be a factor in the budget, and it won't even be an option in the budget, and it won't be there at all. And that's what I worry, that we're like, oh, so many people didn't need it, so why have we been putting it in, and they're just gonna cut it permanently. And that would be one thing, just to kind of add to it.
It's about $200 million if you redirect to roads.
It's just roads.
Absolutely.
I'll say.
Yeah.
Raymond?
Well, yeah, I got a couple things. So last week, yourself and Candace attended the delegate assembly at the MASB, so I was just kind of wondering how that went.
Could you give me a few, when you wait for my turn, I'll let you know. You got anything else?
Okay. Well, yeah, I was just, because you guys, or you voted at
Yes.
that time?
Yes.
Okay, and a couple of amendments, 2 of the 3, as we talked during the last board meeting, kind of incorporated just having the professionals just do all of the curriculum decision and omitting the community, which ultimately consists of parents, in part of that process. And so I'm just kind of curious how you voted for our district.
Okay, are you good then on anything else? Because I was going to come vote this weekend.
We said
We
how we
already
were
said,
going to
yeah, we already said how we were going to
Yeah,
vote.
we were
I
voting
voted
for all of them.
It passed, all of them passed.
Okay. And then the other part was for Brian, he mentioned about the 31 AA there and the grants and how it's proposed. So the current grants the money that we use for the school resource officer, that was what, 140s, or how much was that we have this year for that?
For the grant total is a 176,298 is what we were allocated last year, and we're expected to get this year.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we, so how much does it cost for the school resource officer part-time?
For the part-time, what was budgeted when we started this process last year was 20,000. It's actually going to be closer to 30,000 because of the contract settlements at the Richmond PD, and the resource officer gets a slightly higher rate of pay. So kind of that number with any carryover we had was covering that for this year, which is a normal process because we won't know our final carryover until the audit comes through and finishes.
Okay, and so if it's 30K for part-time, it would be a safe bet. For a full-time officer, it would be 60 then?
No, because it's not a 50-50 split. Off the top of my head, I don't know what it is, because you gotta remember, you're counting basically 4 hours a day, for 180 days out of a 260 calendar for the employee. So during the summer, they're full-time police and not anything to do with the school. Again, I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but it's not a 50-50 split.
So it'd be lower than that in the second
A
half?
full-time would be, I would think it would be well over 100,000 when you include, because we're only paying for the salary, we're not paying for anything on the health care and the other benefits at the city. So I would easily say it's well over 100,000 total cost for a full-time liaison officer.
How? Well, because we've had full-time in the past.
We have not. In my 12 years here, we have never had a full-time. It's various schedules. Like for instance, last year it rotated every third day, AM, PM. It was kind of we had a schedule internally, but someone from the outside wouldn't know the schedule. In previous years, we've had Monday, Wednesday all day, and nobody here Tuesday, Thursday. We've never had a full-time in my 12 years being in the district.
And we never
Okay,
had
so-
prior to that either, right?
Okay, so it was part-time, but the scheduling was different.
It is varied, the scheduling each year based on, there's a lot of factors. Number one, who is there? I've had 3 different liaison officers in the 12 years that I've worked with. And then the needs of the building each year. Like I said, the schedule this year is different than the schedule last year, but the net hours is relatively the same.
Okay. So instead of 5 half days for 4 hours a day, it was 3 full days.
That could have been a schedule, yeah, something like that. Or it could have been 2 days this week, 3 days the next week, and we rotated and alternated, yes.
Yeah, so that'd be the all day, 1 day versus 2 halftime.
That could be.
Okay, that gives me a little bit clearer perspective on that, thank you.
All set, Raymond?
Yeah, believe it so. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So going back to what Raymond was asking as far as resolution, I just want to clarify something that he said. The parents are not left out of it. It's just not part of our process coming from the board members. All we've done is we're telling the board members in the state want our lobbyists or our people to lobby that we would want to make sure professionals are involved. But the actual process, when they do input, that's at the state level, and there is a parent piece. So I just want to stress that parents aren't totally left out. But we wanted to stress as a board across the state that we do want professional people to be a part of that. As far as I had other things that I went through. I went to one workshop that says, getting ready for 2026. What do you think? We have 3 board members who are going to be off in 2026. It was a whole session on recruiting, depending on if we're going to run again or not run again. Advertising. It talks about onboarding packet, which I feel like we do a really nice job of that. There's things on the NASB website, videos and things to watch. So if someone was interested in becoming a board member, they could go there, and it gives a really nice breakdown. So that class was very interesting for me, at least, because I knew that we're going to be, depending on what happens here, we might have 3 new board members next year. Another class I went through is overseeing the superintendency. And they started the workshop off by saying last year there were 88 new superintendents. And the #1 reason that superintendents leave a district is board members. I know. Anyway, the rest of the class was all kinds of practices, things that we could do to work and build that relationship with our superintendent. So I thought, as part of, we always do our workshop in January, February there, that maybe that's something we might want to look at. I could share some of the things that were in this class. One of the things I really want to try with you guys, experiment, they have a thing called round robin. When we have our open discussions, if Margaret starts, she can't open up or say another thing until everybody's had a chance, and then it goes back to her. They say that gives people time to think, process. Anyway, we'll try it out. And then the last one that I attended was managing a construction project. I thought we're going to pass our bond, and it was really interesting. I was being positive. And it was just really interesting what our job as a board is when the bond does pass, and who's involved and what we have to do. So again, I won't go any further on that because we do have a week or so away. But if we do pass the bond, I would be more than happy to share what I learned in that class. Otherwise, it was a really good weekend, very informative. The legislative, like Candace said, the legislative update was really ugly. There was not a lot of positive from our legislative update, legislative individuals that represent us at the state level. There was not a lot of positive comments made. It's not positive at all. So that was kind of disappointing. Okay, that's the end of mine. Yeah, go for it.
When you take 1.2 billion out of the school aid fund, and give it to community colleges and universities, and you take the money they used to get to the road.
That was the first comment. That was the first comment they made. That was the
1.2
very
billion
first
is, I
thing.
believe the calculation is like $700 per pupil increase over what we've ever got. We need more. It's a lot of money.
Anyway. Okay, next item on our agenda is our public comments. Since the last board meeting, the board had not received any emails, and there were no public comments that needed to be addressed. At this time, any member of the public will have 3 minutes to address the board. Please sign in and state your name. If you wish to follow up, please provide contact information on the public comment sign-in sheet. Are there any public comments? Being no public comments, we will move on to our action items. Letter A, I'm looking for a motion for the approval of an overnight extended student trip to Ohio.
I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the overnight extended trip to Ohio on December 12th through 13th, 2025, as presented in the October 13th Board of Education meeting and outlined in the attached documentation.
Support.
Support.
Any discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Sandy?
Aye.
Margaret?
Aye.
Candace?
Aye.
Raymond?
Aye.
Sarah? Danielle? I vote aye, motion carries. Looking for a motion for the approval of an overnight extended student trip to Florida.
I move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the overnight/extended trip to Florida on March 30th, 2026 to April 3rd, 2026, as presented at the October 13th Board of Education meeting and outlined in the attached documentation.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, this will be a roll call vote. Margaret?
Aye.
Sarah? Danielle?
Aye.
Raymond?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
Candace?
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. Looking for a motion for the approval of an overnight extended student trip to Europe.
I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the overnight/extended trip to Europe on March 23rd, 2026 to April 4th, 2026, as presented at the October 13th Board of Education meeting and outlined in the attached documentation.
Isn't that wrong?
It should be 27.
It's gonna say
Should be
that.
27.
Just re-say it.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the overnight/extended trip to Europe on March 23rd, 2007 to April 4th, 2027, as
say, like, thank you to the people that are putting this together. Like, I feel like this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity for a lot of kids to do this at like an affordable thing. I know there's a lot of work behind it. So this is Christian, Ms. Zabel, and I don't know who else is involved, Ms. Shagna. So thank you so much for doing that, putting in the work into that. That's amazing.
And we have had kids pay for this, not using mom and dad's dollars.
I know, I think
So
that's
it is
fantastic.
possible, someone thinks.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Candace.
Aye.
Raymond.
Aye.
Margaret.
Aye.
Sandy. Aye. Sarah. Danielle. I vote aye, motion carries. Looking for a motion for the approval of Power School litigation lawsuit resolution.
I move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the attached Power School litigation lawsuit resolution and attorney-client contract as discussed at the October 13th Board of Education meeting and outlined in the attached documentation.
Do I have support? Support. Thank you, sir. Any discussion?
So I have just a quick question. So if we vote for this, and let's say we do go forward with that, at that time, we do still have the option to opt out of the suit, correct? Okay.
That is correct, based on the information we have.
Okay.
Any other
So,
discussion? Oops. One.
Yeah, and at what point is there the option to opt out? You know, as we discussed during the last board meeting, and Sandra brought up a good point, it's a good point for me, I agree with, is that if Richmond Community Schools or our district wasn't impacted in any way regarding to the data breach, then I don't feel right, you know, jumping in on a lawsuit and potentially pulling the money from other districts that were affected. And so I mean, that's just how I feel about it. I just.
So I didn't mean to cut you off,
Go
sorry, I
ahead.
thought you were done. So we do then have, yes, I did bring that up, but we do have the opportunity, I like that we have the opportunity to opt out before we move forward with that. So like,
The example that,
receiving any of the,
yeah, the example that Jennifer shared was basically, as you're getting that, here's the settlement, do you want it or not? You kind of, you're.
Yeah, and this gives us a little more time, I guess, to digest it all, think about it, and figure it out.
Is there any chance at all that we were affected? I mean, even a smidgen?
I can say, for everything I have, right, no and no, today, no. And I think a lot of it has to do with the support we get from the ISD and the layers that they put on. Macomb is different. All of our stuff funnels through the ISD and through kind of their protection, their servers. Where a lot of districts, it goes right over the internet to Power School, it's their own protection. Macomb is different in that capacity.
That would be like, we're not directly affected, I mean, that doesn't mean that we necessarily don't have some indirected.
Well, and that's why I think
But I thought
that
that's what the conversation was, not that we wouldn't get any monetary settlement because we weren't, but if there was something that Power School had to do to improve something, we would
Correct.
reap that.
Correct, yes, as we should.
As we should,
Agreed.
without having to pay and take care of it ourselves. That's what I thought.
Right, and so that's what I'm saying, so we can, we can opt in or whatever, or, move forward with this, and then, see what the outcome is, and then decide if we think that we want to
Correct.
continue.
We wouldn't be taking anybody's
Correct.
much share of their money.
Correct, we may not, right, exactly,
Okay.
right, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but, so that in part that may be, like, to your point, be like a system upgrade
Correct.
requirement that, okay, so to that point, I can see that.
You all set? Raymond?
But
Yeah.
our system is ran through the ISD, so
Correct.
if there's going to be an upgrade, ISD's going to.
We have our filters that are here, and then when it goes over the fiber lines to the ISD, they have their, and each of us have multiple layers.
Right.
I don't understand, but we talked to Eric, this is where he gets really excited about. There are multiple layers he has before, and he'll show you a screen that he can tell when people are trying to get into our system, and he can, improve and create that, plus the ISD is what we have. And theirs is all more advanced because they're doing Cleveland District
Right.
Plus.
Any other discussion? Okay, this will be a roll call vote. Margaret?
Aye.
Sarah? Danielle? Raymond?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
Candace?
This is a tough one. Yes,
I vote aye, motion carries. Okay, I'm looking for a motion for the approval of Board Policy 3303.1, commemoration of school buildings, facilities, and objects.
I move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve board policy 3303.1 as presented on October 13th, 2025, and outlined in the attached documentation.
Support. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Margaret?
Aye.
Sarah? Danielle? Raymond?
Aye.
Sandy? Candace?
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. Looking for a motion for the approval of HP ProBook laptop computers for CTE courses.
I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent awarding contract to what is it? CI, okay. CI Computer Products Incorporated for 30 laptop computers for an amount not to exceed $17,805.60 as outlined in the attached documentation, for which funding from the general funds 60AA.1 vocational education funds is authorized.
Do I have support?
Support.
Any discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Sandy?
Aye.
Danielle? Sarah? Raymond?
Aye.
Candace?
Aye.
Margaret?
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. I'm looking for a motion for the approval of termination recommendation resolution.
I move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the attached termination resolution as outlined in the attached documentation.
Do I have support?
Support.
Do we have any discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Margaret?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
Candace?
Aye.
Raymond?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Danielle? I vote aye, motion carries. Looking for a motion for the approval of additional media center shelving for the Will L. Lee Elementary School.
Motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and awarding contract to school specialty for media center bookshelves at Will L. Lee Elementary School for an amount not to exceed $17,152.90 as outlined in the attached documentation.
Support.
I'm going to say Margaret.
Yep.
Any discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Sarah? Margaret? Candace? Sandy? Raymond?
Aye.
Danielle? I vote aye, motion carries. I'm looking for a motion to go into closed session.
Pursuant to Section 8D of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, I move that the Board of Education go into closed session to consider the purchase or lease of real property.
Do I have support?
Support.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Margaret?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
Candace?
Aye.
Raymond?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
I vote aye, motion carries. We are going to go meet in the conference room.
Yes.
Okay. For our audience, we will be going back out and then going back in